Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to class today. We're going to be working on Python Lesson 4. This is a pre-recorded episode because I received a lot of emails about people who will be unable to attend today and tomorrow's class. So when it came down to it, it'd be about only 1 to 2 participants who could make the live class. This recording will be posted at 1 p.m., so you can just watch it whenever as if it were your actual live class time, or you're more than welcome to watch it at any time. Today we're going to be starting off with a review, so talking about what we worked on yesterday, followed by a little more on the project overview, and then we're going to dive right in. So as I talked about before, we started with more of a lecture-based learning module, and now we're going to be moving towards a hands-on learning experience. So we're going to be coding together and talking through things while we work on them. This will allow us to kind of move along faster with our data science project, but still allow you to have the exact same experience with the different types of functions and methods that we'll be using. So we'll start with cleaning at first and then move to a little more use of Python packages. This time we're going to be implementing NumPy at the end, along with not an optional challenge really, but the second step of our project that if we have time we'll get to. So first off, kind of what do you remember? We talked about loops. That included infinite loops, while loops, and for loops, which allow us to iterate over a piece of code for a certain amount of times. Then we talked about dictionaries, and dictionaries are just like lists, but have a second dimension to them that allows you to create keys and values. And then packages, so pandas and NumPy, which allow you to create data frames and arrays and are used heavily in data science. And now we're going to kind of go a little more over the project itself. We're going to be using a set of information from the Olympics over the period of 1976 to 2008. And in this case, our first little step is going to be to analyze the types of sports over the years. And then our goal is to visualize those results in graphs, in pictographs. And then we're going to be working with this data set format. So there'll be 11 columns and 15,000 rows. So a lot of this information is not stuff that we'll need. So we're going to be cleaning a lot of it is what it's called. I'll just show you the data quickly. So this is our data set, Summer Olympics from 1976 to 2008. You have athlete, event, discipline, year, sport, and city, along with gender, country, and what medal they won. So here you can see for each event, there are a lot of options. So we're still on the Montreal 1976 Summer Olympics. And then it continues, but it's having a hard time loading that because I only set it to show a certain amount. But there's 15,000 of these rows here, as noted here. And so again, a lot of this information we won't need. Again, here's a little picture of the data. So we're going to be cleaning it. And so just a little fact is that a data scientist spends about 80% of their coding time cleaning. So that's removing empty data fields, merging different columns or rows together, and sometimes even removing entire rows or columns or selecting very specific ones. So in our case, the first thing we want to do is download the CSV file and upload it to Jupyter Notebook. So 1 second. So I'm going to show you that this is the link to get the data. So Kaggle is a great website to get notebooks or data and look at coding. In this case, this is the link. I can include it in the email too, but it's pretty much kaggle.com divi-onge22 with then a slash and then summer-olympics.medals. So here you can download it by clicking the download button right in the little top menu over towards the right. And again, it allows you to kind of see a little bit of information. Again, they say it includes 11 columns from the period of 1976 to 2008. So again, Kaggle has a lot of different cool resources. So like here's COVID-19, Chai Time Data Science, Zillow, All Homes Data. A lot of cool stuff that you can use in order to play around and create more coding things. So that's just, again, helpful to have. Real and fake news, that actually looks really cool. But so you're going to download that data, and then you're going to want to upload it into Jupyter. So after you've downloaded your data set, you're going to go to the top right-hand corner where we normally click New. You want to click Upload. Then you'll want to go through your files and find the file. So mine's already uploaded, but I've downloaded it like 3 times. So I'm going to just choose this one. And then you'll upload it and see it appears here. I can change the name. So this is just going to be called Test, and then I click Upload. And now it exists down here. As you can see though, I already have the file in here along with this one. But so this is, whenever it's a file, like a data set, you'll have the little white square with the dog-eared side, whereas a notebook will look like a book. So that's just a little way to know. Again, my Olympic code is already running, so that's pretty cool. But so now I'm going to go into my Olympics data, and I'm going to show you the first thing you want to do. Ooh. These are 3 things that you want to input. So at first we want to do import pandas as PD. So again, you type import and then pandas, which is what it's called, as PD. So now whenever we want to create use a function within the pandas package, we often note it with using the PD. Then we have numpy as MP, and then matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. So those are the 3 things you'll want to start by importing. Again, at any time, feel free to pause this recording so that you can accomplish whatever step. So then next, we're going to read in the data. So I want to call it Olympic data. And then, so see, here's the PD dot read CSV. So now read CSV is going to take whatever you've named the file and call it in. It's going to find it in your Jupyter notebook. So in this case, I just copied this name right here, and then I put it in. So it needs to be exact, and it's surrounded by the quotation marks here. In my case, I used encoding with equals Latin 1 and quotation marks because I was having issues getting my code to run without it. So if I pull this piece of code out for a second and I run it, now it works. Oh no, it doesn't. That's why. So I have a Unicode decode error. So here, the best thing to just do when you have the UTF-8 codec is to just add Latin 1. It will appear sometimes and that will fix it. So now if I run it, it works. So now you can kind of see our data set. It's set a little weird because Python's not made to necessarily show you a data set in Jupyter, especially when I use the print function. In that case, it's just going to try to visualize it all really quickly, and that doesn't always work as we'd like it to. But what this lets us know is that all the data's here, and it exists, and it's what we need. And again, you can see the kind of dimensions of our data set, which is so many rows and so many columns. Now, in this case, if I go back to this, where you want to look at the progression of sports over the years. So the only real columns we need for starters is sports. Eventually we'll change to discipline, but sport, the year, and not even really the country. So we're just going to do sport and year because that allows us to see the progression over time. And I'm going to pull that out here. So in olympic.datacolumns.toList, I can run it. And then that will help us select only the ones we want, because then we'll assign Olympic data equals the Olympic data and year in sport. So yeah, normally again, toList is used to list the different columns in this case. And then we'll pick from those, which we just want year in sport. Then we can print the new Olympic data. So that is with just the year and just the sport. But what we also might notice is that we have a lot of repetitive variables here. So we have 1976.0 aquatics, like 5 times. And that's because if you go here, it's denoted by the type of event, the type of discipline, and then the athlete. So in reality, we just need one 1907 aquatics to show that that was a sport that was held in that year. So in this case, we're going to create a clean data set where we drop these duplicated values. So I'm going to run that, and now I'm going to print it, and it shows you right here. Now for each year, I only have one name of the sport. So I have aquatics and archery, athletics, basketball, boxing. So now we have our clean data frame. So this data frame, again, has its only 222 rows now and 2 columns. So by doing this duplication cleaning process, we've lost a lot of the unnecessary data, and we're pretty much going to start moving on to now collecting the variables we want and analyzing them. So down here we have collecting the sports of the first recorded year. So in this case, we have all this data, right? And all these rows, though they're not as many anymore. And we want to know how many sports there were each year, because then that will allow us to see when they're adding on sports and which sports are new. So for starters, we need to partition this data into a list for each year. So 1976, it will have all the names of the sports. Then 1980 will have all the names of the sports. 2008 will have all the names of the sports. So we do that here. And I'm going to go over just one of these lines because they're all the same, except they change which year they are. So for year 1, which is 1976, we have clean data, and then I want to select the data where the year is equal to 1976. So that's kind of what all the data is from the year. So for a second, I'm going to pull this all out, and I'm going to click print year 1 just so you can see. And then I'm going to print the length of that as num1. So num1 is just the length of the values in year 1. So look at this. In the first year, we had aquatics, archery, athletics, basketball, boxing, kayaking, canoeing, cycling, equestrian, fencing, football, gymnastics, handball, hockey, judo, pentathlon, rowing, sailing, shooting, volleyball, weightlifting, and wrestling. And the length of that is 21. So there were 21 sports held in the year 1976. Now, one of the things we know about the Olympics is that they occur every 4 years. So once you've created one of these lines of code, you can do it for all 7 of the years, which I actually need to add the rest. So year 8 would be, I'm actually copying this. So then you just write this code for all of the years, and you can just change the name to the different cycles that were held. So there were 9 cycles in total, because one of the things we do know is that the Olympics runs every 9 years. I mean, 4 years, sorry. So now that you've added all your code in, we have all the 9 years partitioned and collected. And so this can be taken out, that was from before. And so now what I had done actually was taken just the first and the second year so that we could look at them. I'm going to actually name this different.